Bonjour tout le monde. J'espère que vous êtes bien reposés. À 10h30. OK, 10h30. OK. Et s'il vous plaît, à 10h30, on va prendre la photo de groupe. Donc, soyez attentifs, on ira à côté. 10h30, OK? We're going to take the group picture at 10:30, so please be aware. We'll go all together outside for group picture. Thank you. Donc, bonjour à tous et à tous. Et on va commencer en attendant l'arrivée de modérateur qui a pris un petit retard, mais bon, il sera ici dans quelques minutes. Pour ne pas prendre plus de retard, je vous invite à commencer maintenant. Donc, il y a la séance 2 qui va commencer et optimiser les synergies entre le secteur d'activité dans la forêt méditerranéenne par rapport aux biens et services. Et voilà, donc la première table ronde, les arbres et la forêt, des multiples services pour être mis en valeur de façon globale. Excusez-moi, j'ai traduit de la version anglaise. Et, donc, j'invite à venir ici à Giuseppe Scarassia-Mugnosa, Jean Ravel, Julio Pedrosa Toribio et Eduardo Esposito, qui feront partie de la première table. Giuseppe? Can I use this one? Yes.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Julio. And good morning to everybody. Thanks to the organizer, to Gide, to the president of Gide, secretary general of SIAM, and to the director of this beautiful institute. Now, I was asked to, je m'excuse, je vais parler en anglais, et parce que la présentation, c'est dans cette langue. I was asked to present some information about the contribution of wooded land for climate regulation. I'm Giuseppe Scarascia from the University of Tuscia, but at the same time also from the European Forest Institute. We just opened a new facility in Rome on biocities. And I'm also membre, j'ai l'honneur d'être membre de l'Académie d'Agriculture de France. Okay, I can start immediately giving my let's say my view on the climate regulation that are at least occurs via 3 different processes. The first one, I reported a in order to provide information about these ways of regulation of climate change, I base myself on this nice paper and picture by Bonan in Science, appearing in Science in 2008, showing the complex relationship between among trees, forest ecosystems, and hydrological cycle and carbon cycles that are really strictly coupled. Now, the first way that trees and forests can regulate, influence the climate is actually an indirect way, through mitigation and through removal of CO2 and greenhouse gases. But about this, yesterday already Riccardo Valentini talked quite a lot, so I will go very quickly through this point. The second process is, in my opinion, a direct one, in which trees and forest ecosystem can influence climate through the relationship with the energy budget, with the land energy budget, so reflection and absorption of radiation, and also through water, through evapotranspiration. In this way, forests and trees can cool down the climate. Then a third way, in my opinion, that is also interesting, involves actually at local scale urban areas, cities. And so again, in this way, there is a control of climate, but I would say more on a local scale, so at the level of urban microclimate. But it is interesting too, and we will spend some, one or two pictures on these. And finally, also, as you can see, there is all the interaction with management and with the cycle of the forest that is quite important. Now, let's go quickly to the first process. So carbon absorption, very quickly. On the left hand, there are the emission by deforestation, but mainly by industries and particularly by building, construction, and management. And at a smaller extent also through agriculture and, of course, transportation. On the right-hand side, we see the on the other way, the absorption of these excess of emissions. Almost, more than 40% is in the atmosphere. And leave? No, what should I do? Got it? Okay. So the biogenic sinks are mainly terrestrial ecosystem, particularly forest and the ocean. But what I want to underline is that forests are the most important biogenic sink, even more than ocean. And here the information on the role of Mediterranean forests, but already you know this type of information. What I would like to underline now is how management of forest ecosystem could be important also to, let's say, for carbon removal, and so indirectly for climate change regulation, climate change mitigation. Of course, to take into consideration forest management on carbon in general sequestration, and particularly taking into consideration also the harvested carbon woody stocks. Of course, we need also modeling in order to make, let's say, scenarios and forecasts over quite long rotation. And here I would like just to report some information on some modeling exercise, but I have also to tell you that now there are a lot of interest and a lot of activities on this, so including forest management for to forecast and to anticipate and to estimate carbon sequestration, carbon removal. And this is one piece of work that was done on Mediterranean forest, particularly on Pinus laricio. So on forest of Pinus laricio, just in the middle of the Mediterranean, in the region Calabria of Italy. So we started from real forest stand with, as you can see, with different type of forest management, thinning that were applied to this forest, reforested forest stand, and also on different type of silvicultural treatments, so shelter wood compared to small clear cuts and so on. Very quickly, what did we found with this forest modeling over a period of 100 to up to 200 years? On your left, there are the effects. Each line is a zero line. So the points, the color points on your left are a decrease in carbon removal. On the right, there are increase of carbon removal. The main point is about the increasing of carbon stock, including both the sequestration into the forest ecosystem, but also into the carbon woody stocks and timber, considering timber as utilized for structural timbers over a period of time of at least 100 years or more. And this is quite reasonable as an assumption. And in this way, we can see that applying different type of management, like, as I said, thinning or different silvicultural treatments, in any case, the effect, the overall effect on, on carbon stocks, including the harvested wood, is quite evident, with an increase of about 40 to 50%, even though we applied different climate change scenarios with increase of temperature and decrease of rain. So in few words, the overall effect on carbon fluxes, so net primary productivity or gross primary productivity, were more or less stable, zero, or they were becoming more negative over time. But including forest management and utilization of timber and other type of, let's say, of harvested wood, the response, the effects is quite clear that there is an increase of the overall carbon sequestration. We will comment later on this type of information, but I wanted to show, I think that this is, of course, modeling exercise, but this type of information is being confirmed by many different type of modeling scenarios also in other areas and regions of Europe and other species, like, for instance, beech or spruce. Now let's go on to the second let's say, process for climate regulation, and this is the more direct one. I would like, first of all, to start mentioning that a famous climatologist from Spain, Milan, already several years ago, more than 20 years ago, has shown, working on different regions and also peri-urban areas of the Mediterranean, mainly Western Mediterranean in Spain, but also in Italy. He identified that land use perturbation accumulated over historical time in the Mediterranean could have induced changes in surface temperature, air mass temperature, and moisture. And in effect, more recently, there have been quite a series of papers that appear on let's say, on the scientific literature, showing that actually, really, we can detect this type of effect. For instance, in China, working on this blue are natural forest or planted forest, using satellite maps of, let's say, surface temperature, they detected that, for instance, where there are forest areas, blue or dark blue, forest and planted forest, the temperature is in general, particularly during the day, is decreasing by 1 to 1.5 degrees compared to crop areas or to grassland. So shifting from cropland and grassland to forest and reforestation, there is a general effect of a decrease of about minus degree. Same type of information was found also at the global scale by, for instance, Alcama Cescati, Duvillier, and Cescati, and other people working mainly at the Joint Research Center in ISPRA. And they found that overall, there is a clear effect on the average of about 0.2, 0.3 degrees, or an effect of 20%, 18% of the CO2 emission signal in all these regions of the world. So red means that, on the contrary, if you deforest, so if you lose forest, there is an increase of temperature, particularly in arid and semi-arid zones, and so including also the Mediterranean. So it seems that actually there is this effect of reforestation on reducing temperature, or deforestation increasing temperature and other parameters of climate. I would like to close just mentioning a third aspect of climate regulation that, as I said, could be considered as a local regulation process of the urban microclimate. Why urban areas? I think that we foresters should take more into consideration also the role of trees and green infrastructure in cities and in peri-urban areas. Why this? 60%, 55% of the population, of the global population, lives in cities, and cities cover only 2, 3, up to 8% in Europe of the global land, but they emit more than 70%. So they basically produce more than 70% of all the emissions. So one of the main causes, or actually the main causes of climate change, reside in the cities, in the urban areas, and in the peri-urban areas. And this is where most of the people live. So I think that as foresters, we should also take into account the importance of these areas where nature-based solution, trees, forests, urban forests, can really play an important role. For instance, here we can see the effect of temperature on surface temperature of trees, of shade of trees, but also of the evapotranspiration. We have to take into consideration the role for removing pollutants, but also the role, the interaction with health of the population, thermal comfort, respiratory diseases, and so on. And then one more important point is also that biodiversity plays a key role also from a climate regulation point of view, because going from a less biodiverse to a more biodiverse urban forest, there is a increasing effect on cooling. And so I'm just closing with few, let's say, comments, or if you want, recommendation. Forests of the Mediterranean globally exert a considerable effect on climate regulation, directly and indirectly. Both mitigation and adaptation are fundamental to tackle climate change, but at the same time also for conservation and resilience. Water availability, of course, plays a key role in all these interactions. And I would like just to underline the role of silvicultural strategies. So management already yesterday was shown as an important factor And I would like just to add a piece of information that actually it seems also that it has a role of increasing the overall carbon stock and carbon removal by forest ecosystem. This is mainly from, as I said, modeling exercise, but we need probably a network or an international, or at least a European network on long-term silvicultural experiments for our different forest ecosystem. Need to involve citizens. If we have the involvement of cities, citizens, for instance, showing them the importance of green infrastructure for health and well-being, probably they will also become more aware about climate change and also ecosystem management. And presently, the general mentality is a urban mentality and not a rural one. So we have to work, we have to convince citizens on the importance of trees, forest ecosystem, and also about their management. And finally, the importance of transdisciplinary research. For instance, I think that it is very important for us to collaborate not only with, for instance, information technology, remote sensing specialists, but also with architects, urban planners, because the forester, I mean, have not such a loud voice as the architect or urban planners have. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe. Maintenant, on va donner la place à Monsieur Jean Albergel. Vous avez le... Ah, tiens. J'ai qu'une seule. Ouais. Oui.
Yeah.
Live.
Okay. Next, there is only one. Insert.
Yes.
Okay. Ok, bonjour. Merci de me donner la parole. Je voudrais d'abord remercier les organisateurs pour l'invitation et pour la demande qu'ils m'ont faite. Je crois que c'était sur le seul sujet sur lequel je pouvais parler dans cette conférence. Et puis, tout le plaisir aussi que j'ai à me retrouver avec vous ici à Chania. Donc, comprendre l'impact des arbres et des forêts méditerranéennes sur la régulation hydrique et la conservation des sols. Je vais vous faire un petit speech en 3 points que j'ai indiqués ici. Donc, le premier point, alors oui, pour me présenter, donc je suis Jean Albergel, je suis directeur de recherche émérite de l'IRD à l'UMR d'ISA, je suis de la section 5 de l'Académie d'agriculture et je suis aussi membre honoraire de l'Académie africaine des sciences. Voilà. Alors, mon premier point, la régulation hydrique des arbres. Alors, les arbres et les forêts méditerranéennes jouent un rôle essentiel dans la régulation hydrique et la lutte contre l'érosion par leur système racinaire et par leur canopée. Leurs racines aident à retenir l'eau dans le sol, réduisant ainsi l'érosion et le ruissellement. En Espagne, les forêts de pins méditerranéens ont des systèmes racinaires profonds qui contribuent à l'infiltration et à la rétention de l'eau dans le sol. Cela aide à maintenir un débit constant dans les rivières et les ruisseaux pendant les périodes de sécheresse. Cependant, un excès de reboisement ou trop d'arbres peut réduire le ruissellement, augmenter le retour de l'eau vers l'atmosphère par évapotranspiration et potentiellement priver les stocks d'eau des petits barrages et des réservoirs. Cela peut se produire lorsque la densité de plantation des arbres est trop élevée, créant une concurrence excessive pour l'eau, ou lorsque les espèces d'arbres à forte évapotranspiration sont plantées en grande quantité. En Espagne, les forêts de pins ont été reboisées massivement dans cette région, en particulier dans les Pyrénées, pour lutter contre l'érosion et la désertification. Cependant, les pins ont des systèmes racinaires profonds et une forte évapotranspiration. Cela a entraîné une réduction du ruissellement de l'eau disponible pour les réservoirs et les barrages locaux, ce qui a eu des conséquences sur l'approvisionnement en eau. En Tunisie, des plantations d'acacias ont été utilisées pour restaurer des zones dégradées par l'érosion. Les acacias sont connus pour leur capacité à améliorer les sols, mais ils ont également une forte évapotranspiration et dans certaines régions tunisiennes, cela a conduit à une réduction du ruissellement de l'eau disponible pour les petits barrages et les réservoirs, ce qui a eu un impact sur l'approvisionnement en eau agricole. Il est important donc de noter que la planification et la gestion des reboisements sont essentielles pour minimiser les impacts négatifs, le choix des espèces, la densité des plantations, la gestion de l'eau et la surveillance des impacts environnementaux sont des considérations clés pour assurer que les reboisements ne privent pas les ressources locales en eau. L'autre partie, c'est la canopée des arbres. Alors, la canopée des arbres contribue à l'interception des précipitations, ce qui permet de réduire l'impact direct des pluies sur le sol et de favoriser l'infiltration de l'eau dans le sol. La canopée dense des forêts de chêne liège en Corse réduit l'impact des pluies torrentielles en ralentissant la vitesse des gouttes de pluie avant qu'elles n'atteignent le sol, favorisant ainsi l'infiltration de l'eau. Mon deuxième point, c'est l'arbre et les forêts dans la conservation des sols. Les sols méditerranéens sont considérés comme fragiles à l'érosion et cela est dû à plusieurs facteurs environnementaux et géologiques spécifiques à la région méditerranéenne. La région méditerranéenne est caractérisée par un climat sec et des étés chauds avec des précipitations souvent concentrées en automne et au printemps et intenses. Ces pluies torrentielles, occasionnelles, suivies de longues périodes de sécheresse, peuvent entraîner un ruissellement intense, augmentant les risques d'érosion. De nombreux sols méditerranéens sont rocheux et peu profonds, ce qui signifie qu'ils ont une capacité limitée à retenir l'eau et à résister à l'érosion. Certaines zones méditerranéennes présentent des pentes raides, on le voit ici quand on regarde par la fenêtre, ce qui rend les sols particulièrement sensibles à l'érosion. Les sols sont plutôt pauvres en matière organique et donc ont une faible capacité à retenir l'eau. Certaines pratiques agricoles traditionnelles, comme le défrichage, la surexploitation des terres et le surpâturage, ont contribué à la dégradation des sols méditerranéens et à leur vulnérabilité à l'érosion. Les incendies de forêt, qui sont fréquents dans les régions méditerranéennes en raison des conditions climatiques chaudes et sèches, peuvent éliminer la végétation protectrice et exacerber le risque d'érosion sur les terres brûlées. Les feux de forêt de grande ampleur qui sont de plus en plus récurrents depuis 2017 dans toute cette région, comme les grands incendies du Portugal, en Corse, en Algérie, en Grèce ou en Turquie cette année, ont détruit des milliers d'hectares de forêt. Ces incendies ont entraîné une perte de biodiversité, une augmentation du risque d'érosion sur les terres brûlées et une détérioration de la qualité de l'air. Les systèmes racinaires denses des arbres et des plantes forestières aident à stabiliser les sols et à prévenir leur érosion par le vent et l'eau. Les racines étendues des oliviers et des chênes verts en Grèce contribuent à stabiliser les sols et à les protéger contre l'érosion, notamment sur les pentes les plus abruptes. La litière forestière, composée de feuilles, de branches et d'autres débris végétaux, agit comme une couverture protectrice sur le sol, réduisant son exposition aux éléments et limitant ainsi l'érosion. Les forêts méditerranéennes contribuent à améliorer la qualité des sols en fournissant des matières organiques et des nutriments grâce à leur décomposition. Voilà, je passe à mon troisième point. Donc, les reboisements et l'agroforesterie peuvent-ils remplacer la forêt naturelle dans la régulation hydrique? Il n'existe pas de réponse unique quant à savoir si les reboisements sont aussi efficaces que la végétation naturelle pour réguler les flux hydriques et résister à l'érosion. La végétation naturelle a généralement évolué pour s'adapter aux conditions locales, mais des reboisements bien planifiés et entretenus peuvent également jouer un rôle important. Les reboisements jouent un rôle essentiel dans la lutte contre l'érosion après un incendie de forêt. Cependant, leur efficacité dépend de plusieurs facteurs, notamment le choix des espèces, la densité de plantation et la gestion. Après un incendie de forêt en Italie, des reboisements ont été réalisés en utilisant des espèces d'arbres indigènes tels que le chêne liège. Ces reboisements ont contribué à restaurer la végétation, à stabiliser les sols et à réduire le risque d'érosion. En Grèce, des programmes de reboisement ont été mis en place après des incendies pour planter des pins maritimes qui ont des systèmes racinaires robustes pour protéger les sols contre l'érosion. Dans la région méditerranéenne, les reboisements mixtes avec différentes espèces d'arbres, par exemple des chênes et des pins, peuvent créer une couverture végétale plus dense et diversifiée, ce qui renforce la stabilité du sol. En Turquie, la plantation de plantes couvre-sol, comme le romarin entre les arbres reboisés, favorise une couverture végétale continue qui réduit l'impact des gouttes de pluie sur le sol et réduit le ruissellement et l'érosion. La pression sur les terres arables étant forte dans tout le bassin méditerranéen, les communautés rurales ont depuis longtemps cherché à associer l'arbre à l'agriculture. L'agroforesterie peut aider à réduire l'érosion des sols en utilisant les arbres pour créer des barrières naturelles contre le vent et l'eau. Par exemple, des rangées d'arbres ou d'arbustes plantés au contour le long des pentes peuvent ralentir le ruissellement et réduire l'érosion. Des systèmes agroforestiers méditerranéens traditionnels sont diversifiés et sont adaptés aux conditions spécifiques. On peut parler de la DSA, qui est un système agroforestier traditionnel, où des chênes comme le chêne liège et le chêne vert coexistent avec les pâturages du bétail. Les arbres fournissent de l'ombre pour le bétail et produisent également du liège et des glands. Ce système est courant en Espagne et au Portugal. Les oliveraies en Grèce sont souvent associés à des arbres fruitiers tels que des figuiers et des amandiers. Les arbres offrent de l'ombre aux oliviers et aux cultures sous-jacentes. Le système agroforestier de l'Arganier au Maroc, que l'on voit sur cette photo, est un exemple remarquable de pratique traditionnelle qui associe la culture de l'Arganier à des activités agricoles et d'élevage dans les régions semi-arides du Maroc, en particulier dans le sud-ouest du pays. L'arganier est un arbre endémique des régions semi-arides du Maroc, en particulier dans le sud-ouest du pays. Les éleveurs de chèvres utilisent souvent les zones autour des arganiers pour le pâturage de leurs troupeaux. Les chèvres se nourrissent des feuilles et des fruits de l'arganier, ce qui contribue à la dispersion des graines et à la régénération naturelle de l'arbre. Plusieurs exemples. On pourrait parler aussi des systèmes agroforestiers dans les vignobles de Toscane, les systèmes libanais, où on trouve des systèmes agroforestiers traditionnels avec des arbres fruitiers comme les agrumes qui sont associés à des caroubiers. Mais en conclusion, puisque je suis pris un peu par le temps, les arbres et les forêts méditerranéennes jouent un rôle vital dans la régulation hydrique et la conservation des sols, tout en contribuant à la biodiversité et à la qualité de vie des populations locales. La préservation et la gestion responsable des écosystèmes sont essentielles pour faire face aux défis environnementaux et assurer la durabilité de la région méditerranéenne. L'agroforesterie offre de nombreux avantages en matière de régulation hydrique et de conservation des sols en région méditerranéenne en créant des systèmes agricoles plus durables, résilients et bénéfiques pour l'environnement. Et je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Jean. Je m'excuse pour la présentation. J'avais préparé une petite introduction pour chaque participant. Mais voilà, comme on était pressé, j'ai raté ça. Donc, si vous me permettez, je vais faire l'introduction pour les prochains intervenants. Notre prochain intervenant, c'est Julio Pedrosa Toribio, de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé. Il est médecin péruvien avec un degré postgraduate en Angleterre et aux États-Unis en gestion des politiques de santé et financement de la santé internationale. 28 ans d'expérience en santé publique et dans la coopération internationale. Voilà, il a couvert plusieurs postes à l'OMS et à la coopération belge. Et aujourd'hui, il est conseiller en système et services de santé dans les bureaux du pays de Brésil. Donc, voilà. Bienvenue, Julio.
Bon.
Okay. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour. Je viens do Brasil. Je peux parler Esperanto 3.0, qui est une langue qui mélange un peu français, anglais, espagnol et portugais. Je suis très heureux de participer dans cette réunion. porque je comprends bien que a santé não é mais like my colleague, ancient colleague of WHO, Julio Ruela, told me. I will change to English, and I will talk about the impacts in health of ecosystem forestier. First of all, I would like to present which are the risk factors associated with which is the group of major illnesses around the world, not only in Europe, but in all the countries. It's now non-communicable disease, especially in urban settings. Diseases increasing a lot in the last 20, 30 years are cardiovascular diseases, cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, diabetes, and mental health. And exposure to forests can provide us benefits, which includes the ability of our immune system to protect us, to defend us, and also to improve blood pressure, heart rate, blood glucose, and stress hormones, which are at the basis of the burden of mental health in the world. Access to forests contributes as well to increase physical activity, which is associated with obesity and reduced stress levels. Furthermore, forests clean water and air reduce the risk to infectious diseases by filtering pollutants, which has an important role in reducing non-communicable diseases. Forests also help mitigate the health impact of water pollution, filtering pollutant from water, reducing pollutant inputs, especially, for instance, to reduce diarrheal diseases, which is one of the leading causes of mortality still in some major part of the world. Three group of forest positively impact are under on nutrition and food security, through soil and habitat conservation, as well. The forest contributes to sustainable agriculture, which is necessary for increasing food security. For communities like in Brazil, in the Amazon basin, which I am working on, which really is still on forests for food, this can be a critical safety net by supplying micronutrients and protein from wild sources. Finally, forests can protect people as well from the harsh impacts of natural hazards, flooding, landslide, avalanches, wildfire, and storm, and other that it is being exacerbated by current climate change. Rural forest also has a preventive role in vulnerable places, especially in urban settings. For instance, extreme heat, physical risk from accelerated storm activity, and other events which are connected to climate change. For emergency, increasing also a spreading of zoonotic infectious disease that we all know, recently Zika, dengue, and other diseases. Forests are the first line of defense. Deforestation protects or threatens this protective role is against infectious disease, and that's why can increase, deforestation can increase disease risk for human by improving and altering the biology of disease vectors habitats. This is especially because of decrease the biodiversity, which is something that dilute disease vector infection rates. This is just a graphic of how many impacts are relying on forests and are forest dependent. 60% of existing human infectious diseases are zoonotic, is related to also to animal diseases. At least 75% of emerging infections in the recent years are related to zoonotic issues like Ebola, even HIV and others. 5 new human diseases appear every year. 3 of them, more than half, have animal origin. 80% of agents with potential rise are related as well. Some numbers, some facts: over 56,000 people die each year because of heat in the Americas. Over 3 million cases of dengue, which has 1 or 2% of lethality, occurs in America. In 2019 was the highest, the peak of number in the history. And the health sector is responsible for 3 and 10% of national greenhouse gas as well. Children born in Americas in 22,000 will experience or has experienced more wildfire, more river floods, more droughts. Currently, Amazon area is suffering the highest drought in the last 30 years. Crop failure, heat waves, and we will be working as well in the Caribbean area, which hurricanes of category 4 and 5 increases by more than 10%. Burden of diseases, you can see in many Latin American countries, also between 8 and 20% of the deaths are related to climate and environment, and also DALIs, which is a relation between deaths and disabilities caused by these diseases. 250 deaths every year will be related to climate change between 2030 to 2050. Finally, but for me, one of the key messages that I wanted to share with you is One Health. One Health is a proposal developed by UN agencies, recognizing especially of linkage of human life, human, livestock, companion animal, and wildlife health. We see One Health as a way, as a means to adding values for closer cooperation of human and animal health, providing more knowledge, better health, and economic benefits as well. One Health is the collaborative effort of multiple disciplines working locally, nationally, and globally to attain optimal health for people, animal, and our environment. As you can see, FAO, WHO, UNICEF, World Bank, and other UN organizations are engaged in One Health. Just to close, make some reference to the place that we are working on. Hippocrates, father of modern medicine, already see this relationship, and we have inspiration from the Greek father of medicine, which based also his approach, recognizing that human health, animal health, and environmental health are part of a whole body, whole universe. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Julio. Now I'm going to call the last presenter of this table, Eduardo Esposito. Eduardo holds a BAc on Forest Science from the University of Tuscia in Italy and a Master of Science on Forestry and Natural Conservation from Wageningen University and research in the Netherlands. During his master's thesis and as internship on his thesis, he was at the Instituto Superior of Agronomía de Lisboa. He specialized on Mediterranean forest ecology and resilience. Now he's working at the Instituto Oikos on a project called Mediter 3, and so he will be explaining to us a little bit the outcomes of this project to promote fire smart landscapes in the Mediterranean region. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction, Julio. And thanks, I'd like to thank the organizer to have given me this opportunity to present today. So, yeah, so as Julio already said, I'm here to present the result of one of the working package of the project that I am coordinating. The name of the project is Restoring the Resilience of Mediterranean Landscape to Reduce Greenhouse Gas Emissions from Wildfires. The shorter name is Mediter 3. And the project lasts for 2 years. It will be finished in December of this year. It is structured in 4 work packages, and it involved 1 applicant, Instituto Oikos, and other 4 partners. And one of these is actually the mic from the mic from Hania. And the project aimed to reduce basically fire-related greenhouse gas emissions in 3 target landscapes in Greece, Montenegro, and France through the application of fire smart landscape principles. So here an overview of the 3 target landscapes. We have one in southern France in the Luberon Regional Natural Park. The other one is located in Montenegro in the Procletie National Park and the Komovi Natural Park. And the third one, it's actually where we are in the Samaria National Park and Lefkaori. So as I said, I'm going to present you the output of the working package 2. Which assess basically the effectiveness of fire smart landscape management in reducing burn area, and therefore also the greenhouse gas emissions that are related with burn area. And this was a work that was done by NOAA, the National Observatory of Athens, and basically they calculated projections of burn areas and also linked with then the greenhouse gas emissions under different climate change scenarios. So as I reported, we have the worst scenario from the left, the representative concentration pathway 8.5, which is like the business as usual scenario, so no mitigation policy considered. And then we go to the right to the let's say the best scenario where actually there's some ambitious mitigation policies are implemented. we also consider not just the climate change scenarios, but also fire smart landscape scenarios. So two different scenarios. Scenarios A, where basically there's no fire smart measures intervention. And then the scenario B on the right, where actually fire smart interventions are considered. So I'm not going to really deep into the statistical data, but I want to give you just an overview, because we're going to this model, it was meant to be used as a policy tool, so to influence actually policy. And here, I just take the example from, since we are here from Crete, from Western Crete. And as you can see here, you have on the left, the territory, the analysis without consideration of fire smart landscape intervention. And as you can see, the projections for 3 different climate change scenarios, and for the short-term period, so from 2011 to 2040, the increase of burn area is actually between 15 and 20%, while for a long-term, a long time period from 2040 to 2070, the percentage of increased burn area, it's between 18 and 25%. This number changed when we consider the implementation of fire smart measures, interventions. So, for example, if you apply 5% of these measures on the territory of Kenya, of Crete, we have actually lower percentage of increase. So for the short-term period, we have an increase of burn area, and therefore also of the related greenhouse gas emissions, that are between 6 and 10%, while for the long term, we have an increase between 9 and 15%. So as you can see, if we take into account fire smart landscape interventions, actually the increase of burn area, it's reduced, and therefore also the greenhouse gas emissions. I will go through quickly just, it was yesterday that we said about the importance of showing maps. And here we have the western part of Crete. This is like a fire spread risk map that was calculated by taking into account land use, land cover, and terrain, so aspect and slope. And the green red, the light red area with low fire spread risk, while dark red areas are high fire spread risk. And this is just to show you how we can practically use the model that NOAA developed. So basically, what we did is we create a buffer of 50 meters around infrastructures like roads or human infrastructures, and a buffer of 25 meters on secondary path. And then we obtain, by overlapping to the map that I showed you previously, high fire risk areas. So all these are areas that basically the fire, it's really, there's a high risk of ignition. And if we apply on these, so we applied on these the scenarios of fire smart intervention on 2% and 5% of the territory, and the outcome is that actually there's a predicted annual burn area overall reduction of 3.2% if we consider 2% scenario, and 7.9% if we consider the 5% scenario. And as I said before, this is not like really it's not the purpose of showing a model and a statistical tool, but it's actually more a mitigation tool that can support policies and can support countries in meeting, for example, the greenhouse gas emissions cut by 2030. It can support countries in shifting from fire suppression to fire prevention models, and then also enable the countries to actually access financial mechanisms by showing that actually fire smart intervention can reduce burn areas in the future and therefore also greenhouse gas emissions. And I am almost finished. I will just want to highlight that one of the important things of this project is actually to upscale the model to other regions, potentially to the whole Mediterranean region. And therefore, we have disseminated the results and also the model by lending a protocol to this network, which is called Met4Val, and Oikos, Instituto Oikos is the secretariat of this network of forest protected areas. So we wish that results and the model will be implemented also in these other forest protected areas. To conclude, my recommendation are that when we think about climate change mitigation, as we did in this project, it is important, of course, to work at bigger scales. So we work at regional scales, as we did for the Western Crete. Another one is that the methodology and the approach must be easily applicable to other regions. So it should be easy to upscale the results. And this means that the data that are required for the projections should be publicly available. And despite the importance of public data, also it's important to have harmonization of the available data among countries. And for example, in our case, we had some problems with, there were some occurrences with Montenegro because it had lower resolution of data. And the last one is just the importance, as I showed you before, of communication, dissemination of the results. So in order to have an impact, in order to have implementation of the results, we need better communication and better dissemination, also through professional figures in the organizations. And I'm going to conclude here by thank you for the attention, and also by just doing an announcement that there's going to be some material available at the table outside. The unexecuted summary of the guidelines of forest smart intervention, which was the output of the work package 1. And here I also leave you the QR codes and the website of the project where you can download the protocol and the fact sheet of the working package that I just presented. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Eduardo. I don't know if Guillaume is not there, right? So, well, maybe we can start with a round of questions for the interventions of table 2.1. Does anybody have a question? Yes.
I have a question to Giuseppe, if he's around. Okay, it was very interesting. Two issues. One is the fragmentation of the land and the properties and the forest systems in the south, especially in some southern areas of many countries, like our country, for example. And the other thing is significant is the approach of urban silviculture. So my question is, would it be possible for you to imagine that rural communities and communities living around the cities would take in charge a portion of the forest in order to, improve a sort of making up of forest communities in a way, and restoring part of abandoned land from agriculture where agriculture is not more possible to be brought ahead?
This is a very, very difficult question, Teodoro. what I can say is that there are examples in Europe, for instance, of cities that owns or that buy or that rent lands, forest lands, for instance, for different ecosystem services. So there are cities, Vienna, for instance, is one, but there are many others in which the cities really directly manage the forest in order to provide different type of ecosystem service. Could be water, but could be also other type of ecosystem services. So this is, I mean, a positive answer from this point of view. Now, if in the future this will increase, I mean, it is more difficult. For sure, what we are, I mean, trying to do also as EFI in, I mean, for instance, the EFI EFIMED in the Mediterranean region, or us for BioCities and so on, is to promote the idea of close interaction and links between regions, so bioregions and the cities, in order to provide also other types of ecosystem services, like, for instance, wood. I mean, it could be really important to plan the management of the forests all around the cities for different purposes, not only, I mean, for, as I said, important ecosystem services, but also for material, for renewable material. Of course, there are 2 points that were raised yesterday, and that's the economy part. That's very, very crucial from this point of view. And then also the land ownership. In Italy, for instance, all the properties are very much fragmented. And so that's a very big issue. But for instance, there are also laws in order to favor the association of the owners, or also private and public owners. That is also another important aspect that could have, I mean, important implication for the future. But in any case, working on the relationship between cities and the surrounding environment, that will be crucial for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Question is for you. Excellent presentation. I would have a question regarding the albedo, because when you read, depending on the literature, it is really very contradicting. And I think this is really an area that we need urgently a clear response. If the enlargement of forest, depending on the latitude, is more priority or not, because what you say is very logical, but from albedo specialists, we get exactly the opposite. And this is really, in this juncture, from a global perspective, not a Mediterranean perspective, really an issue that we have to get clarity as soon as possible from science. And on the following presentation, I was a little bit surprised when pines were ignored as semi-non-autochthonous, and only Quercus and olive from the following, not yours. And I think we have to be a little bit cautious on it. There is huge areas in the north and in the south that are semi-arid in limestone, where Pinus alepensis is the single species that is able to survive. And therefore, the issue of species is about, if there is clay, you can mix with olive tree, but without clay as well not. What is the right density in order to optimize the water yield and to reduce the fire, more than discussing about the species, because that is, in semi-arid in limestone, below 500 meters, it's very difficult to have Quercus ilex, with very small exceptions. So, and also we have to speak about diversification. Many species, due to grazing, have been deselected. Sorbus domestica is an interesting species, Celtis. There are many broadleaves, others that have been taken out by overuse or by grazing, that could be reintroduced and diversify a lot. And especially the deciduous broadleaf burn less, and have also less, have better water behavior for the winter rain.
Thank you, Eduardo. Of course, the second question is not for me, but it's very interesting too. Okay, so for the albedo topic, I mean, this is really a crucial aspect. Just to, I mean, briefly clarify this point. So I started I mean, trying to introduce the fact that in order to anticipate or to examine the role of forests and trees from a climate regulation, direct climate regulation point of view, we have to take into consideration the overall energy budget. Energy budgets means the light, the solar radiation that is coming, how much it is reflected, how much it is absorbed, and the evapotranspiration. How much it is reflected, of course, depends on albedo. Albedo can vary with forest trees because there are, I mean, Mediterranean forest trees in general have a higher albedo. We can just see from Aleppo pine or other species. But it's also true that forests could reduce albedo compared to grasslands and so on. However, when I showed the data on climate regulation, they considered also the overall effect at night and during the day. So when I showed the data on the highest effect, that is about 1 degree, 1 degree 0.5, these are in the best conditions. On the average, taking into consideration also albedo, but also amount of water is stored in the soil so that that can be evapotranspired, the effect is still there, but of course is reduced. So on the average, at the global scale, we are using data that are taken from satellite, of course. More work should be conducted, but the data that, for instance, are using a Joint Research Center really are global scale, and in any case, there is still a reduced but still significant effect of forest. Of course, this means that we should work also more precisely with species. Different species could behave in a different way, and also management. Because of course, management can save water and so on. And then, okay, for the second speaker, I leave the word to him. I want just to underline that, for instance, we work on pine, on a pine species, Pinus laricio, a typical and endemic Mediterranean species. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if there are no other questions. Maybe we can pass to the next table as we are a little bit late. Is there any other question? No? Okay. So we're gonna pass to the, yes? No? We're gonna pass to the next roundtable, roundtable 2.2, sorry, Mediterranean forest bioeconomy still to be invented. We will have the interventions of Jean-Luc Peyron, Nabil Asaf, Abdelhamid Kaldi. And so let me present, 1 second. Yes. Bon, je veux continuer en français. Jean-Luc Peyron est ingénieur général honoraire des ponts, des eaux et des forêts, ancien élève de l'école polytechnique et docteur en sciences économiques à l'université de Nancy II. Il a consacré toute sa carrière à la forêt et aux questions qu'elle pose en termes aussi bien environnementaux, gestion de la faune sauvage, protection des sols, changement climatique, biodiversité ou gestion des risques, qu'économique, comptabilité nationale et d'entreprise, emploi, balance commerciale, services écosystémiques, développement rural. Et il est largement positionné à l'interface entre sciences pratiques forestières et politique publique en tant qu'enseignant et chercheur. À niveau européen, il a participé activement aux travaux de l'Institut européen de la forêt, EFI, et à plusieurs actions européennes de coopération scientifique et technique. Donc, un sur le changement climatique et la forêt qui a suscité et plus coordonné. Et il a également animé les groupes stratégiques de travail sur la forêt et la foresterie du Comité permanent européen de la recherche agronomique. Et il est aussi le coordinateur principal de notre comité scientifique pour l'organisation de cette colloque. Donc voilà, je veux donner la bienvenue à Jean-Luc Peyron et le remercier pour sa présentation. Merci.
Bon, en fait, je pourrais commencer en même temps. Donc, je remercie Julio pour son introduction, mais qui a pris beaucoup de temps, donc il ne me reste plus rien à dire dans le temps imparti. Effectivement, mon background montre que j'ai toujours cherché une vision assez élargie sur les problèmes forestiers. Et là, par contre, je vais vous présenter une vision relativement focalisée sur le bois, finalement, sous sa forme matériaux ou énergie, laissant le liège à d'autres interventions dans la suite de cet événement. Alors, le bois, on en a finalement relativement peu parlé. Bon, est-ce vraiment un enjeu? Donc, j'ai mis enjeu relatif avec un point d'interrogation. Alors, c'est vrai que le contexte méditerranéen est très contraignant pour la croissance des arbres et pour l'accès à la ressource, et que la fourniture de matériaux et énergie est un service parmi beaucoup d'autres, mais en Méditerranée comme ailleurs. Pour ce qui concerne la Méditerranée, l'étude sur la valeur économique totale qui avait été faite il y a une vingtaine d'années sous la supervision de Maurizio Merlo et avec Lélia Crotorou, et nous sommes au moins 2 dans cette salle à y avoir participé, peut-être plus, avait montré, donc cette étude, elle avait montré que le bois et le liège représentaient un tiers, ou le bois seul représentait un tiers de la valeur totale donc des forêts méditerranéennes. Alors c'est des évaluations qui sont un peu contestables, qui essaient de prendre en compte une partie immergée de l'iceberg, mais pas la totalité, j'allais dire, le bois étant la partie plutôt émergée. Mais ça donne une idée. Alors, l'idée que ça donne, c'est que si on supprime la forêt, on va supprimer effectivement pour un tiers seulement de la valeur bois et pour 2 tiers d'autres valeurs. Par contre, si on ne supprime pas la forêt et qu'on veut la gérer, la question, c'est pas de savoir ce que le bois représente dans la totalité, mais comment la valeur de l'ensemble de la forêt va varier si on fait varier la valeur bois. Et en fait, la réponse, elle est pas toujours aussi claire. Enfin, elle va pas forcément dans le même sens. On pense souvent que si on augmente la valeur bois, on va diminuer les autres valeurs. Ce n'est pas forcément le cas. On peut très bien faire des récoltes supplémentaires et améliorer aussi les autres valeurs. Je n'affirme pas que ce sera forcément le cas, mais ça n'est pas impossible. Et dans certains cas, ça peut se produire. Tout dépend de la hauteur de la gestion qui est faite et des valeurs qu'on a, donc des attentes sociales finalement qui sont derrière. Et donc la récolte elle-même, elle ne fait pas que alimenter l'économie, elle prévient les risques, elle peut augmenter la capacité des écosystèmes à engendrer l'ensemble des services écosystémiques, elle facilite les conditions de vie, elle procure de l'emploi, de la richesse nationale, et on parle de plus en plus aussi d'une contribution à la souveraineté nationale qui est revenue de manière importante sur le devant de la scène. Alors évidemment, il faut évaluer le caractère soutenable de cette gestion dans tous les cas. Alors, pour ce faire, le suivi est délicat. Donc, on a parlé des données hier. Moi, j'ai essayé de partir des données de base de la FAO avec l'annuaire des produits forestiers et l'évaluation des ressources forestières. Alors, il y a des différences entre pays, on en a parlé hier, qui ne remplissent pas de la même façon les formulaires. Il y a des pays qui ont un caractère plus ou moins méditerranéen et la France est un exemple. La séparation entre les forêts et les autres terres boisées n'est pas toujours évidente, alors d'autant plus en contexte méditerranéen. Et puis, on constate aussi des évolutions dans le temps. Alors là, moi, j'ai travaillé sur quelques statistiques que j'ai regroupées pour que ce soit moins fouillis, en 3 catégories: le sud, c'est-à-dire l'Afrique; l'est, c'est-à-dire l'Asie; et le nord, c'est-à-dire l'Europe. Alors, un tableau rapide sur la récolte dans ces 3 régions et dans l'ensemble. Donc, bon, la récolte, ici, j'ai distingué donc le boiron industriel dans ce tableau. Le tableau suivant présentera le bois de chauffage. Donc, pour le boiron industriel, pour la construction, mais aussi pour les panneaux, la pâte à papier. On voit que évidemment le maximum de récolte est dans le nord, d'autant plus que les pays du nord englobent des parties non méditerranéennes. Mais quand on regarde à l'hectare, on voit que c'est très faible dans le sud. Et quand on regarde l'évolution entre 2000 et 2020, on voit que globalement, il y a eu une augmentation de la récolte, mais que dans le sud, ça a plutôt eu tendance à diminuer. Alors, il faut prendre les données avec précaution. Là, la comparaison est quand même faite sur une vingtaine d'années. Je pense que ça donne une idée que on produit peu de bois rond industriel au sud, qu'on en produit même de moins en moins. Par contre, qu'on en produit beaucoup plus ailleurs et que ça a légèrement tendance à augmenter avec les surfaces forestières, mais plus que les surfaces forestières. Alors, si on regarde maintenant le bois de chauffage, alors j'ai présenté 2 chiffres parce qu'il y a une particularité qui concerne l'Égypte, où il y a très peu de forêts, beaucoup de bois de chauffage, alors qu'il vient sans doute des autres terres boisées, mais il y a peut-être une fiabilité qui m'interrogeait, donc j'ai mis les 2 chiffres avec et sans l'Égypte. Ça ne fait pas une grosse différence pour les commentaires. On voit que le bois de chauffage est toujours très important au nord, mais beaucoup plus important au sud que le boiron industriel, évidemment. On voit donc aussi que au nord, il n'est pas si négligeable. Au nord, là, il n'est pas si négligeable que ça. Et globalement, de toute façon, il n'est pas négligeable. Il est presque aussi important que le bois rond industriel. Donc, il y a une forme de partage de la récolte de bois entre les 2 grands types de débouchés. Et puis, globalement, il y a quand même une augmentation assez forte de la récolte de bois de feu, qui est plus importante que celle de boiron industriel d'ailleurs. Bon, excepté dans l'Est, c'est-à-dire finalement dans la Turquie. Là, ce chiffre dépend beaucoup des données turques, où la récolte de bois de chauffage semble avoir diminué. Donc, une question peut se poser: ces récoltes sont-elles soutenables? Alors, pour répondre à cette question, on peut regarder l'évolution des superficies, de la vocation des forêts et des volumes sur pied. C'est ce que je fais rapidement pour dire que les superficies forestières ont plutôt tendance à augmenter, même si hier, on a vu que ce n'était pas si net que ça. En tous les cas, on n'a pas l'impression qu'elles diminuent fortement. Donc, ce n'est pas forcément une diminution des surfaces forestières qui alimente la récolte. Les autres terres boisées, elles, tendent, d'après les chiffres, à diminuer relativement peu, et d'après les chiffres, moins que l'augmentation des surfaces forestières. Donc, tout ça, c'est forcément un petit peu flou statistiquement, mais il ne semble pas qu'il y ait un gros problème à ce niveau-là. Quand on regarde la vocation des forêts dans les questionnaires de la FAO, on se rend compte qu'il y a une diminution des surfaces à vocation principale de production et une augmentation des surfaces à vocation plus multifonctionnelle ou indéfinie, qui n'ont pas été remplies donc par les correspondants. Donc, ça ne veut pas dire qu'on accorde de plus en plus de place à la récolte de bois et que donc il y aurait un risque de surexploitation. la récolte reste soutenable, et c'est plutôt l'inverse, c'est qu'on a l'impression qu'on y prête de moins en moins attention, d'où ma question au départ avec un point d'interrogation. Alors, quant au volume de bois sur pied en forêt, qui peut être un guide, est-ce qu'il diminue, est-ce qu'il augmente? Ben, on peut le regarder aussi par les statistiques. Et on voit que globalement, il y a un accroissement annuel à peu près partout. Il est très faible dans le sud, mais finalement relativement important dans le reste du pourtour de la Méditerranée. Une augmentation du volume sur pied. Voilà. Alors, dans les forêts, pour ce qui concerne les autres terres boisées, là, on manque singulièrement de connaissances. Donc, au total, je ne vois pas de gros signes de surexploitation. Donc, finalement, quelques recommandations. Alors, j'ai des grosses recommandations sur l'amélioration de la connaissance statistique. Ça devait se traduire dans mon discours. Alors, il faut que ça se fasse sans obérer le suivi temporel, parce que traditionnellement, on change la méthode et du coup, on n'a plus de série chronologique et on ne peut plus juger dans le temps l'évolution des forêts. Et ça, c'est très gênant avec un écosystème qui se gère que dans le temps long. Donc, il faut absolument améliorer la connaissance en gardant, sans mettre à la poubelle tout ce qu'on a déjà. Donc, de manière harmonisée entre les pays, ça a été fait, en progressant sur les autres terres boisées sur lesquelles il y a des lacunes, et c'est particulièrement important dans le monde méditerranéen. En se donnant la possibilité de se rapprocher de la bioclimatologie, parce que je pense gênant pour parler de la Méditerranée. Moi, en tant que Français, je me sens gêné de parler de la Méditerranée en incluant l'ensemble des données propres à la France, dont une partie seulement est méditerranéenne. Donc, il faudrait vraiment se focaliser sur la Méditerranée. Et puis, on peut avoir des indicateurs relativement simples, par exemple sur le domaine dont je m'occupais. J'aurais bien aimé vouloir évaluer la croissance nette en regardant simplement sur une période l'accroissement du volume sur pied et les prélèvements de boiron qui avaient été faits. Ça donnerait une idée de ce qui a cru véritablement en forêt, qui d'une part est allé à s'accumuler dans le volume sur pied, mais d'autre part a permis de générer des récoltes. C'est tout simple et je n'ai pas pu le faire en fait. Alors, il ne faut pas négliger la récolte de bois, c'est ce que j'ai dit déjà, mais je le rappelle ici, qui entretient et développe la multifonctionnalité. Alors, j'ai bien aimé hier l'histoire de la cigale et de la fourmi. Alors, c'est vrai que ça vient d'Ésope, donc qui était peut-être grec, ou en tous les cas qui a vécu pas mal en Grèce, donc c'est bien important pour notre événement. Et ça a été repris par Jean de La Fontaine, donc pour nous Français, c'est quelque chose effectivement qui est effectivement très important. Alors on peut l'interpréter de diverses façons, mais la fourmi, pour moi, c'est plutôt celle qui gère la forêt, et pas forcément celle qui ne la gère pas, bien que celle qui ne la gère pas accumule du stock en forêt éventuellement. Donc, et la récolte de bois, donc également, travaille à la prévention des risques et à l'adaptation des forêts. On n'adaptera pas les forêts si on ne les gère pas. On les laissera s'adapter toutes seules, mais s'adapteront-elles toutes seules face à un changement climatique qui est dû en grande partie à l'activité humaine? C'est problématique. Mais il faut évidemment veiller à la soutenabilité de cette récolte et donc je propose de publier des indicateurs de gestion durable des forêts méditerranéennes qui serait une façon de constituer une réflexion forte sur la forêt méditerranéenne. Alors l'état des forêts méditerranéennes, c'est un petit peu ça qu'il réalise, hein, mais il y a moyen d'améliorer peut-être et de structurer autour d'indicateurs relativement précis. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Et merci beaucoup, Jean-Luc. Donc, le prochain intervenant sera M. Nabil Assaf. M. Assaf, il est national du Lebanon. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to change to English. He holds a Master of Research in Forest Systems and Products from the University of Lleida in Spain. In addition to a master's degree in ecology and natural resource management from the National Forest School of Engineers in Salé, Morocco, and a bachelor's degree in water and forest engineering. He joined FAO in 2010 as forest officer at the Sub-Regional Office of North Africa in Tunisia. Mr. Assaf served as a FAO representative in Algeria and Sub-Regional Forest Officer of North Africa in the duration from year 2011 until year 2020. He is now a FAO representative in Jordan. So thank you very much. You have the...
Okay. Yes, thank you. Just choose the arrow. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk about this very specific topic regarding the non-wood forest products that comes out of the forest, or potentially what can be. They asked me to talk about olive, carob, and argan trees, but I'm not going to go into the details about these trees, but the potential that they would present. So as introduction of the olive trees, how important they are, and argan, how they are native in Morocco and Algeria, as well as carob, who does exist in all over the Mediterranean. Their valorization refers to the process of maximizing the value of this natural resources through innovative and sustainable methods, as well as talking about the importance of value chain in the development of these products. So we all know that olive trees have been cultivated since thousands of years, and the latest studies showed that the olive trees that exist in Jordan that are very old, they are the mother trees of the olive trees that exist in Italy and in Spain, for instance. As you see how this throughout the years, the olive have been migrating due to its importance, while we know that an olive tree can produce this year, but he may not produce 2 or 3 years later. So this also a prediction in the productivity, even though it was maintained, and this tree has been a very important resource. Their products, their benefits, everything. I'm not going to talk about those details. Argan tree, we all know that how it is taking more importance. The argan ecosystem, a system that is functioning in Morocco. When I studied in Morocco, it was between 1989 and 1995, the liter of argan oil was in the market. It was €1 the liter, but it was only for consumption, as alternate to the vegetable oil. And then little by little, there have been an interest in this product, and we can see now how important it is, and also how important it can become if we develop it in a better way. The carob, we all know the carob, a Mediterranean tree. I like this tree a lot. It has a very big potential, but never valorized. And I think there is something behind it because we don't have enough data about it, the products and everything. The carob pods last year was sold on the market €2. Carob pods. There is one tree in Spain who was 8 years old. That tree produced 200 kilograms, which means €400. If we cultivate in a good way this tree, we may have a very good production of this tree that grows all over, and we know the phytosociological association between olive and carob, which means whenever we can put olive, we can put also carob tree. And I liked when Jean talked about the agroforestry system in Lebanon between the citrus and carob, but this can be also developed furthermore all over the region. Carob is being used, and I think there are some secrets behind it.
We don't know exactly the reason, but the uses lately, there have been some discovery regarding the carob as natural flavor. So it can be used also, the carob gum, as a food thickener, used as natural food thickener, and I think it will have more value in the coming years. But the problem is that this year, for instance, the international price of the carob pods was 0.3, which means 30 cents. This fluctuation maybe leads to less investment and less enthusiasm and less momentum during the development of this tree, while it has very important also ecosystem services. So a little bit about the carob processing. So carob pods, it's not only the pulp, but it's also the seeds, the kernels, and how it is processed. And there are many products of this carob that are on the market, like a chocolate substitute or whatever, in addition to its medical value as well as food thickener. These trees are contributing to these SDGs. So I would say developing these Mediterranean trees will help us in a better way, also will help countries to contribute better to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in general. Also, carob is among them. The importance of the value chain development, processing, distribution, and marketing. Because if we do not work on value chain on itself, I think we won't be able to encompass all the activities involved in the production, processing, distribution, and marketing of a product. For olive, it's somehow very well organized, and there is the international of the Conseil Oléicole International that is coordinating a little bit this work. Argan, since it is only in Morocco, they have developed a national agency for argan development, but the argan has a big potential. It can also be planted in some other countries, in some other similar ecological condition, and it can produce the same like what olive happened to it. So we can have it, but it's also depending on the demand, on the market, as well as importance, as well opening new markets for it, as well as for the carob, as I mentioned. So the importance of having the value chain itself will help a lot in developing this. What we are going to gain as foresters, we are going to gain more vegetal cover in the Mediterranean areas instead of erosion, instead of forest fire, instead of forest health problem, and all these, while we can get the ecosystem services. Also, people can support us in this while they are producing from their own land, but at the same time, we can gain or regain more lands by developing these three important trees, without forgetting other trees that have very high potential, like the pistachia as well, like Laurus nobilis. Laurus nobilis, it has a huge potential, and it is fire resistant, drought resistant, and I think some of these Mediterranean trees are the future for the climate change adaptation. So of course we have the understanding the market trend and opportunities in promoting the value chain, let's say, of these products. By the market demand for olive oil, argan, and carob are expected to continue to grow. Why? Because population is growing and the demand on natural products is going to grow. And there are opportunities for producers and suppliers in these value chain to be in together. So the grower consumer interest in healthy and sustainable food products, increased awareness of the benefit of natural ingredient, and the rise of a plant-based diet are driving market trends. So the opportunities that there are opportunities for producers to differentiate their products by highlighting their quality, sustainability, and unique selling points. Collaboration and partnership along the value chain can also create new opportunities for market growth. Now, even on your application, you can buy whatever you want, but also you need a certification in order to know that you are getting the right and the proper product that you are looking for. So some of the recommendations for the future of the valorization lies in continued innovation, collaboration, and market-driven approach. That's why I said there are some hidden sides of some products that can be also discovered. Investing in research, technology, and capacity building will be crucial to unlock the full potential of these three trees and eventually other potential trees that are. So the valorization of these trees presents significant economic opportunities, environmental benefit, and the potential to contribute to a more sustainable and diverse food systems. Valorization is key in maximizing the role of potential of these crops, ensuring their economic viability, which is very important for us, for the farmers as well, and meeting the growing demand for healthy and sustainable products. And then looking ahead, the future of valorization lies in continued, as I mentioned again, innovation, research, collaboration, as well as market-driven approach. Investing in research and technology and capacity building will be crucial to unlock the full potential of these species. So by embracing valorization, we can create a more prosperous and sustainable future of these valuable resources. I'm not going to repeat it again, but as I mentioned, we can propose, for instance, to have these trees to be included in the national reforestation programs and also produce them. We can do a capacity building for at the regional level where we want to promote such kind of trees that are very profitable, and at the same time they are able to play environmental role in as a forest cover. So the most important in all this, I would say, developing projects, regional projects, because we want to exchange information among researchers, but also among farmers, among producers, among food processors, and all these let's say entities together. Just want to mention that we are starting a new project on carob valorization in Jordan, value chain development, and as a FAO, I mean. It is also, we have also developed earlier another similar project in Algeria, and there is a big processing developer of carob in Algeria that is working very well. And also, while FAO has initiated a global initiative on one country, one priority product, Morocco has selected carob as a priority product for developing and promoting investment in it, which means there is a growing demand in this. So this, for instance, project that is going to start very soon is to support both Ministry of Agriculture and Environment and afforestation activities. So we have seen that there have been reforestation, afforestation activities. We said, why not to plant something that people will take care of in a better way? While the valorization of the carob in Jordan is almost absent, there is a significant production. There are no data about it, but that production is being used mainly, and we were talking with Eduardo the other day, previously the pods, carob pods, was used as animal fodder mainly, and molasses for people to eat it during, you know, the winter season. So now these values are much more. It's like you are using as a fuel wood, I don't know, a high value wood. You can get the energy out of it, but while you can make high value products that are maybe 100 times